Okay, my couture crafters, let's play with this candy corn card. The main stamps and everything are coming from Whimsy Stamps, the originators of the slim line. They've been doing this. Everybody else is just jumping on the bandwagon. I'm using their stitched rectangle slimline windows die, and it cuts out 5 windows, and it also cuts out these stitched frames, and you can mix and match and play with them. It's a pretty cool slimline die. So I'm running that through my Gemini Junior, and I'm doing this in both white and black. I wasn't sure at this point what color I wanted the background to be, what color I wanted the frames to be. I don't know. I just knew that I was doing this candy corn card. I bought these candy corn stamps last year and never used them. So, yay for me using something that I haven't used before. And so I am scoring here. I cut the card at 7 by 8.5, I think. And I'm scoring at 3.5. Well, I was supposed to. I messed up the first one. But I fixed it and I'm scoring at 3.5. I'm using 100-pound weight cardstock from Michaels. I actually don't mind their 100-pound cardstock for bases. It doesn't bother me. And so I am putting this die down with my lovely art glitter glue that I love so much because it's got that precision tip on there, but it does not give you a long time to wiggle. So if you want to be wiggling, use more glue, but you don't want it seeping out everywhere either. But when you put this down, it's pretty much down. So you've only got a little bit of time to work with it. But I managed to get it pretty straight. It's okay. It's not perfect, but it'll work. And then I decided to use the white frames. So I had quite a few pieces left over. That didn't bother me because, I'll just toss stuff. But if you want, you could certainly make multiple cards because you will have some leftover pieces for sure. So I'm just gluing all of those frames into the windows, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to use black background and then put the candy corn on top of that or white. So I'm testing my distress oxides that are supposed to show up on dark cardstock also. And I couldn't figure out which one was going to be better. And I should have known I was going to be drawn to the brighter of the two, which is going to be on the white cardstock. I'm using a post-it so that I don't get fingerprints on the other part of this tag. It's a really great trick if you don't want fingerprints all in your stuff. And it turns out that I did enjoy that better. I could not see the purple on the black. I was like, huh? What? I thought it was going to show up, but it didn't. So not as well as the green did. And so I just kind of eyeballed it. You can see the grass is not all the same height, whatever. Not worried about it. So I am cutting down a sheet of paper just so that I can start stamping, and I figured I was going to use my Misty. I could have done this with blocks, but it would have taken me a little bit longer. It took me long enough with the Misty because these things were sticking to my fingers and I was shuffling them around and trying to get the faces, and so this card took me a little bit of time. It wasn't a fast card, I would say. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I'm going to be just doing some Copic coloring. I love this ink. This is the first time I used this stamp. That ink went on perfectly. I did not have to restamp or double stamp or anything. It just went onto those stamps well, and it didn't smear my Copics, and that's some good ink. And these are some nice stamps, I must say. And then you can mix and match the faces, which is cool. You can come up with a bunch of different combinations. Here, I have no idea what Copic colors I'm using, and I thought I was going to be slick and put the cap tops upside down so you could see what I was using, and that was a fail because of how far the camera is. So I just grabbed some oranges and some yellows. Turns out there are a bunch of Copics that I don't have. I need to kind of fill in the gaps. I have set A, B, C, and D, and I need to fill in the gaps because I'm missing quite a few. I think in like the purple and the yellows and the green, I'm missing a few Copics. And when I'm ready to color, I'm like, oh no, I don't have this or I don't have that. You know how that goes, guys. I think here I use 4, 7, and 9 for the YRs, the yellow reds. And they have dyes that come with, well, they don't come with them, that you can purchase. And so I'm just using the dies. Did 7. I wasn't sure. I knew I was going to use 5, but I figured I would use the other 2 on the envelope or whatever was left over that didn't come out so cool. And so I ended up using the 5, and I'm just gluing them down. I'm not popping these up or anything like that. This was just a little too clean, and I like clean and simple, but it was a little too clean. The background didn't have anything going on. So I took some water and splashed the purple part so that it gave it a little something to look at. It gave it a little something. I don't know. It was missing something. So here I'm cutting down. Instead of just using the die, I just cut the rectangle sheet of paper to the size that it was supposed to be. Of course, I cut it down wrong. It should have been 4 by 9. I think I cut it to like 4 by 8. That was a fail, but I fixed that too. This cardstock is by Maker Forte. It's the purple 100-pound cardstock, and boy, is it pretty. It is a very, very pretty, strong purple. And I'm running the die through my Gemini Junior. I have to run it through both sides because this is a longer die, but it works fine. I think I'm ready to buy the adult Gemini, the actual Gemini. I think it is time. The Junior is cool, but the plates just aren't long enough. I wish they had longer plates that went through it. Maybe they will now that the world has gone slimline. Maybe they'll do some extension plates that work. So for this envelope, it's by Trinity Stamps, and I like it because you can customize it, and it's perfect for slim lines. They have an extension pack for Trinity's envelope builder so that you can change the shape of the top and the bottom, and you can turn this into an envelope, which is pretty cool. I have another set that I bought off of AliExpress that does the same thing for slim lines, that makes the box so that we can do cards with dimension or put candy in there, whatever we want to do. But I like how this looks. It's clean. And I have the one that I bought off of AliExpress opens at the top as opposed to the side, which I like too. So I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do here on the front, and I figured that'll work. I kind of wish that I had stamped the bodies like a bunch of times in the background and then just had these on there, but no worries. This card is finished and sent off to the one person in the world that I know that eats candy corn because, you know, gross, but whatever. And I just glued it down, and then I thought this needs a little something else, so I'm doing the sentiment, and I also added some sequins later on. The sentiment says Happy Candy Corn Day. It has other sentiments like the Great Cornelio, and you can turn them into unicorns, and so it says something about being a unicorn, and they're all punny kind of phrases. And then there's a recipe for candy corn and peanuts and popcorn, I think, on here too. Cute stuff, all with the word corn for the most part. And then, of course, you can just do a straight up Happy Halloween too. I'm using that new Maker Forte invisible ink that I have that's basically like Versamark. It's an embossing ink. I didn't love the results that I got with this whole embossing. I don't know if I didn't use enough static powder. It just, it wasn't the best embossing but I don't know that that was due to the ink, or I'm using Alabaster by Brutus Monroe, so that shouldn't have been the issue. I don't know. It just wasn't the best results that I've ever gotten. So I'm just using a dry paintbrush to knock off the excess here and there, and then I'm going to heat it up with my old school heat gun. And then I trim it out. And I use my static prepping tool, which is why it looks like there's baby powder on there. And it wipes off pretty good. Sometimes I use a barely damp cloth or a microfiber cloth just to knock it off so that it comes back black, because I feel like it's always got that little cast there. But here we are, and I decided to pop that up with the barely foam things that I bought. These things are so thin to add dimension. If you really want to control your dimension, I guess you can just stack them up, but I thought they would be thicker than what they are. They're black, they're nice, but they're very thin. It's like, what is even the point? But again, I guess if I want to control it, I can stack them up, and they will be just as lovely as the regular ones. But I do love black foam dots. They just hide so much better. So you can see that I added some splashes to the background just to give it a little bit of interest. And now I'm about to add these sequins. I got these sequins from the Scrapbook Expo. There's, I think it's like the mouse, something about the mouse. And they have these in every color, and so I buy them in every color. And so I have tons of sequins in all the colors. So I'm just using that same art glitter glue to add a couple of beads of glue, dots of glue over the card, and then I switch between white and the iridescent white, and there's a black that's got a purple shift to it, and I'm just putting them all over the card wherever, no rhyme or reason. And these little guys are too cute. Look at all their little faces. There are some that have eyelashes, and you just mix and match. Mix and match. And I also colored the white part a little bit with the gray. You guys didn't see me do that part, but it's got a little bit of a shadow to it. I didn't just leave the top stark white. Here I'm marking with my Copic where center is. I do that for all of my seals. I think this seal came from Alta New. I did not use enough beads. I'm out of practice, guys. I was like, should I use 3? Should I use 4? And I think I used 3, and it still wasn't enough. I think this is a 1 1/4 inch seal. So I should have used 4 here. But no worries. It's still sealed, and you still see the hello. It's a nice and simple one. I didn't do any of the Disney ones that I have that I am in love with. And that's it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. See you next time.